Welcome to episode 152 of Outside the Circle, a podcast dedicated to new and upcoming country artists, musicians, and songwriters. Today's guest will be Callum Kerr. We'll get to him in a little bit, but first, I'm Ronnie, and here's Brian.
Yeah, man, what's happening? This is another really fun episode. And first off, we could probably just point out if you didn't see 151, we're disputing with Spotify and other things on a copyright on the song. So we're just like stand by for that one. That one should come back live anytime now. But no, I'm excited for this one. It's got to be it's got to be our first like Scottish, right?
Yeah, definitely our first Scottish artist, Scottish born at least. Actually, no, it's not. Colin Lilly,
Uh-huh.
or was he from Ireland? So when you put the Scots and the Irish against each other, it becomes a whole thing. But he's either first or second because Colin Lilly, although he's in Australia and from Australia, he was born in either Scotland or Ireland. Um, but yeah, either way, it's one or two.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And like I said, man, I'm excited for this one. Column is super cool, and yeah, it was wild. I mean, you'll hear it in the interview, but he's like, "Yeah, I'm at a birthday party now."
Yeah, I think the the dedication to literally walk outside, take our call for an hour, was very much appreciated. I could definitely, especially as he was live commentating on what was happening around him. I'm sure there's better places he'd rather be, but the fact that he stuck around and even after we sat and chatted for a little bit after we stopped recording, which normally when we do this face to or not face to face, but like when somebody's home or not out and about in the world, it usually happens. But for him to be out and still take the time, but yeah, I'm very excited for this. We talk about it in it, but the who's the actor Kevin Bacon, the 6 degrees, through a friend, we're connected through friends, so it was cool to like really get to know him and chat about his upbringing, especially when it comes back to his Scottish roots and being from Edinburgh and obviously a major city over there that well, actually, probably one of the biggest cities. If I don't know too much, but I'm assuming he came from a good spot to really get the American influence, I guess we can say, when it comes to music and what she talked about with his classical and his Texas and all that. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun.
No, man, I think we've teed it up pretty good. So well, let's just dive into it.
All right, everyone, we're here today with singer-songwriter Callum Kerr. Welcome to Outside the Circle, Callum. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, pleasure, boys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to chat with you. It's been a busy couple months for you. Some debut EPs being released, and just overall staying busy. So before we jump into all that, we always like to start from the beginning, though. Kind of tell us a little bit about where you grew up, how important music was in your household. Kind of things like that.
I got you. Grew up in Edinburgh, in Scotland, hence the weird accent, especially for a country singer. But yeah, grew up in Edinburgh, and from the beginning, I was exposed to all kinds of music. Weirdly, country music like wasn't one of them. We didn't get much country music in Scotland. It was really the internet and with how big you guys like Morgan Wallen and Luke Combs and how big those guys are that really pushed it across to the UK. But I think the only couple country songs I've ever heard growing up were like "Man, I Feel Like a Woman" and maybe "Friends in Low Places," and that was about it. It was like the main two, and that was it. Um, and I think years later, actually, I was skipping a bit just now, but my grandfather told me recently when I was home that he's a huge Willie Nelson fan. He pulled out all these LPs and vinyls and stuff that were Willie Nelson. So I was like, no way, why didn't you play these when I was here, like growing up? Um, but yeah, I grew up in Scotland. Pretty standard childhood, and played loads of sports. I think with music, I started playing the guitar at about 10 years old in school, and it was classical guitar. I hated it. I thought it was so boring, but it really, I think in the UK at the time, all the music on the radio was like real kind of glittery, poppy. What I thought as like an 8-year-old kid was like trash, like Spice Girls and all that kind of stuff. And it was like, I just didn't like the radio. When I started playing the guitar, I started listening to mostly American rock bands like your Green Day and Fall Out Boy and My Chemical Romance, Nickelback,
The good
I
stuff,
got
yeah.
like all the good shit. And that was like, going from listening to the radio in the UK there's a lot of dance music, which I guess I liked, but again, it just never, I never looked at it and was like, oh, that's what I want to do when I'm older. I found the rock stars and I was like, all right, now this is something I could get into. And you learn your first power chord and you unlock like 15,000 songs from rock bands. So I was like, all right, we're in business. So I quit guitar at school because classical, probably should have kept up with it just for the actual technical ability. But I was like, I just want to play rock music. So did that for years and my dad, even though he never pursued music in any way, doesn't play an instrument, is really musical, whistles around the house all day, plays the drums on the steering wheel while he drives, and you can tell that he can hear the tune, he can sing on tune, but he's not particularly, he doesn't want to be a singer or anything like that, but you could just tell he was musical. So I guess that's kind of where I got it from, early doors. And then I moved to Texas when I was 17. I took a summer job in the hill country, and right before I got there, my boss sent me like 20 quintessential country songs to know before you get here. And there was a bunch of Texas artists and then some big songs from at the time. So Zach Brown Band and Brad Paisley and Dierks Bentley and all those guys were kind of like new and on the radio then. And I just fell in, sorry, excuse my language, but
Oh,
I was just
go for it.
immediately fell in love with country music right away. I was like, this is cool because it's got all those rock elements. There's always like slamming solos and big drums and but it's a lot more kind of singer-songwritery and it was first of all easier to play on the guitar for me. It's playing, as they say, three chords and the truth. And so I just started learning covers to songs that I liked and basically imitated the singers. So as they all had country accents, I just started singing with a country accent just because that's what the songs that I listened to sounded like. And I guess just kind of accidentally ended up singing everything with a country accent. Um, and played covers for years. And about 3 years ago, kind of decided that I did want to make a go at it and make it a career and moved to Nashville and started writing songs and doing the Nashville thing, playing rounds, writers rounds, and going to a write when you're hungover at 11 a.m. and trying to thrash out a good song and that was basically what kind of brought me here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we kind of all had the same type of upbringing musically and everything. I mean, Ronnie was much more of like the pop rock. What do you call it? The whatever the pop.
The punk rock. So you mentioned My Chemical Romance. They're actually from uh their drummer is from my hometown. So
Oh,
like we
cool.
grew up with like My Chemical Romance was the thing. Like yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, I loved those early albums were just so good, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, they just like because I liked your like Sum 41 and some of the kind of poppier kind of high school bands, but then when My Chemical Romance came out, I was like, oh, these guys are dark, man. These guys have
Yeah.
got some like there's some real weird shit going on here. And
Yeah.
I don't know why, but
Well,
I like it.
well, so I was gonna say, do you know what? So Gerard Way, the singer guitar, well, mostly singer, it doesn't really play too much guitar, but Gerard Way was so deeply affected by the events of 9/11 that he wrote the first My Chemical Romance album based on his feelings about 9/11. Like
No
it's
way.
yeah. So you talk about dark. He really leaned into that.
Damn. Yeah, I had no idea. I hadn't even heard that as like a rumor before. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I mean,
yeah,
obviously, as a 9-year-old kid from Scotland, I could relate. Nine
yeah,
11 big day for me. Big. But
yeah,
weirdly enough, 9/11 was one of those things that it was one of the few big bits of American news that wasn't just American. That was a worldwide thing. So
yeah.
that's crazy. If silver lining, if anything came out of it, some great music, like courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue is still one of my favorite songs, man. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Those Alan Jackson songs from
woo,
around that
yeah,
time too. Yeah, it was a big musical event, I guess, really. So I kind of want to jump into a few things, but before we get to that, sticking on the Scotland side. So you said you're from Edinburgh. Where I'm going to pronounce this so terrible, but AYR. What's that? Ari
air,
Air.
air.
So one of my really good friends is from there, and he lives here now. He's in this area now, but he kind of went through that whole same like thought process on like the music. He's not a musician at all, but the kind of gravitating towards the rock side of things, and then he always obviously he knows I do this, so we always talk about the how country music really just kind of really started finding its way there, and how
Uh,
important it's becoming in all the pubs, and he's actually a retired, he's 27, but he's a retired professional footballer from the area, and
oh, cool.
but even that, like the team, like everything now is just centered around the country world of music, and I
Yeah.
think it's pretty cool that it's kind of going around the world like it is.
Yeah, and like when I was growing up, it would be almost not made fun of, but it was kind of like a caricature. Like everyone just thought of like Woody the cowboy from Toy Story, and your jeans pulled up to your armpits with the checkered shirt, and like yes sir and yes ma'am, which I know you get a lot of, but I don't think the authenticity of it really came through until recently. And
Yeah.
but dude, now my favorite soccer team. Man United, they sing Country Roads before like every song, and they change one of the lyrics to be like, take me home to Old Trafford, which is the stadium they play in, but it's like they're using a giant country song as like their official song.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, it's huge, man, and I think it's kind of annoying that I'm like I found this thing that like makes me different from everyone, and everyone's like, no, we like that too, and I'm like, I thought I had this one thing that no one else would have over there, but whatever.
Yeah, but you could take some credit that you're bringing it there, right? Like you could
Yeah,
subtly take
I'm
some
just hoping.
credit.
I'm just hoping I can sell some tickets. That's all I care about. I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, if you guys like it as well, come and see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Kind of like finding that new band, and you're like, oh, I'm like the only one that knows these guys. Then you start showing it around. They're like, oh yeah, I've been a fan of these guys for a while, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, yeah. It was even like My Chemical Romance. You listen to like the early albums, and then Teenagers comes out, and everyone's blasting it, and you're like, hey, whoa, whoa, this is my band.
Yeah.
Yo,
yeah.
yo, yo, yo.
Yeah. All right, so let's kind of fast forward in that whole story there. The 3 years ago now, you made that jump to Nashville and really hitting the ground pursuing music. We always kind of like to ask, is there like a moment where like that was like, all right, like I'm gonna, and I know we'll talk a little bit about it later, but not just music, but the entertainment industry as a whole, like really just diving into that and knowing like this is what it is that you're gonna be pursuing and focusing on.
Yeah, so I was living in Austin, in Texas, and still just giant country music fan. It's a great place to be for gigs. I saw everyone, Zach Brown Band, Chris Stapleton, and all the huge acts, and then even saw like guys like Cody Johnson who used to just do like the Texas circuits before he was huge, and so I was just a huge fan. And then I got an audition. I was doing some acting as well, still am a little bit, and the role was for a Texas country singer. And so I auditioned for it. I put on the country accent, and I was like, as when I was auditioning, I was like, "Hey, my name's Callum Kerr. I'm auditioning for Wade Stellings," and I just pretended like I was from there, born and raised, and I got the job. I played 3 songs. I played a Dirks Bentley song, Jason Isbell song, and something else. Maybe I can't remember, but I did 3 songs for the audition, and they were like, "Yeah, we love it." And so I went out and filmed this TV show called Monarch, which was a country music TV show. It only did 1 season. In all honesty, it wasn't the best written show of all time. They were trying to say it was going to be like the next Nashville, and they just fell short on so much on the script. But the music in the show was amazing, and all the players for the sessions and for the live shows all were from Nashville. They all came down. We filmed it in Georgia. They all came down to Georgia to do the show, and they were like, not a lot of the other actors were country music fans. They were just in a country show. But when I was speaking to them, they were like, dude, you got to go to Nashville, man. You would love it. And I guess being from Texas, stateside, a lot of people in Texas talk a lot of shit about Nashville because they're like, nah, this is real country music and that's bullshit. And so I guess I'd kind of drank the Kool-Aid a little bit. And I was like, oh, I thought Nashville was all, Dolly Parton impersonators and, bachelorette parties, which obviously you do get a lot of. But I didn't realize that when I went up with all the band guys from the show, as soon as my boots touched the ground, I was like, this is what I'd wished that Austin was the whole time. Everyone's just here hustling, writing every day. You got all the big labels, and I was like, I never want to leave, and this is what I want to do, and I'll write music for other people if that's what it takes. But as I got into it, I was like, nah, I think I want to do the artist thing, and especially with streaming and stuff, it's harder to make money as just a writer. So I was like, right, I'm gonna start, putting out some music. But yeah, that being cast in that TV show, I guess it kind of gave me some confidence. Like, you think you're good in your living room or in the shower or in the car or whatever, but when someone else who's got a huge budget casts you as a country singer, they obviously believe it. And I'm like, maybe I could fucking do this. I don't know. Let's give it a try. And that was it. Just started putting out music, and man, here we are, still going. So
No, you know what's cool about that? And yeah, I guess we never really spoke about it. I'm a huge Texas music fan. Like and to me that it's more of a traditional style country, and that red dirt sound is my kind of jam. But we never really talked about like that there, it's like a tiff between Nashville and Texas of like
uh,
Nashville being like, well, we're the big fish, and Texas being like, yeah, well, we do real country. and
yeah, yeah.
and so no, that's kind of cool, and I'm glad that you were able to experience both sides of that. Because growing up here, for me, I grew up on traditional country. It was, old, Merle Haggard to, the Waylon all the way to Alan Jackson, Garth, and everything all the way through. And so my musical journey went through that, where like it's almost like kind of the same for you. Yeah, you went through the rock thing, but you hit Texas first, and you hit that Texas sound, and then transitioned into Nashville, which is a kind of a cool ride to take.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the Texas artists that do well, they kind of have to come through Nashville to get their big records. Cody Johnson and Parker McCollum and all that. And it's like it doesn't take away from the fact that they're still Texas born and raised, and they're still total dogs. But like,
Yeah.
if you want to cut an album at, RCA with the best session players in the world, you just have to be here. And the song and the other thing is, yeah, it's Nashville, but the songwriters are from all over the world. It's not just like, oh, you got to be born in Nashville to be here. And that's what I kind of loved about it. It was like, every room that I was in, it's this writer's from Nebraska. The producer, one of the guys that produced my song, Tamed by Tennessee, is from Eastern Europe, and he was in like a country picking band, like a bluegrass band from Eastern Europe / Russia. And now he's one of the biggest producers in Nashville. So it's like, it's not just Nashville. I think Nashville is like the place where you can do all that stuff, but it draws a crowd from everywhere, and you literally have the best people in the world here. So for me, I was like, I'm not too proud to leave Texas, which I loved, but in order to pursue like that Nashville greatness.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It is the best of the best are in Nashville. Not saying there's outliers everywhere around the country, but Nashville is that magnet, right, of the pros, of the best engineers, the best mixers, the best everything happens in Nashville. And
Yeah.
in turn, some of the best songs come out of that place.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's a lot of guys that come out and they cut albums here and they spend 3 months in the studio and then they go back to Lubbock, Texas, and that's cool as well. You can do it all. And Texas, there's some amazing studios, but it's harder to get in, and the actual business side of it, like your publishing companies and your record labels and stuff. If they find you in Texas, they're going to bring you out to Nashville anyway to do all that stuff. um but yeah, I mean, I love, like, even like your like Gary Allen and like all those guys that were just like
Yeah.
total out and out country dudes. But yeah, I don't know, in another life maybe I'd have stayed in Texas and tried to make it work from there. But as soon as I got to Nashville again, I was just like, I gotta be here. I thought I could play the guitar till I got to Nashville, and I realized what playing the guitar really was, and I was like, oh shit, I should get better at that as well then, I guess.
That's
Yeah.
that's that Jason Aldean song where like everybody plays guitar, everybody is a singer, everybody is the best. You're just like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. You just gotta find something that's like unique, I guess. And man, yeah, it's like playing the lottery, man. It's just like who's gonna be the one that gets the Powerball or whatever. But gotta be in it to win it. So here we are. What about, do you boys play as well?
Yeah, well, I play guitar and sing. Yep.
Yeah, nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I pretend to play the bass.
Isn't that every bass player? Nah, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I mean, you're not far off, but yes. um, yeah. Um, but yeah, so you're talking about, being in Nashville now, you got all these, literally people around the world coming into town and kind of making the best product that could possibly be made. Let's kind of jump into the songwriting side of things. You mentioned a few times, just being in writer rounds and sitting in rooms with other writers and, kind of what does that songwriting process look like for you, especially, coming from overseas, having a different perspective than probably, I would guess maybe most of the people that you do sit in rooms with. What does that process kind of look like for you?
I try to immerse myself in the Nashville way. So the classic, write as often as possible. 11 o'clock every day, you get in a room with some different people and you try and get the best song out of it. And sometimes it works and you click immediately, and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, I think yeah, having that kind of outside perspective is quite nice. You can kind of look at it from like a bird's eye view and maybe cherry pick a little bit more, as opposed to, if you're from Georgia, you want a Georgia sound, Texas sound. It's kind of, I kind of like how, like Post Malone, kind of his album was built with a bunch of different types of sounds and a bit different types of styles, but it was all, all the stuff that he just loved from country music. And I guess that's somewhat what I'm kind of doing is, I'm just such a lover of the whole genre, and I've got so much respect for it that I'm like, I would love loads of songs that kind of relate to all those different types of country music. Obviously, if there's one song that goes mega crazy, then maybe I'll just try and emulate that a few times. Keep the people listening. But yeah, I think I guess with writing, to I guess answer the question, is I just kind of study it like it's a sport, or like it's out of a textbook. And I'm like, well, why did this song work? And what do I like about this song? And what do I like about these lyrics? And then how can I maybe put my own spin on it? Or, how does this even suit my voice? Because there's so many songs that are real low and croonery, which I'm like, I love those songs, but I don't know if that's my style per se. And, it's just a lot of trial and error, and then just, yeah, confronting it like it's a martial art. And it's like, this is going to take you 10 years to get great at. And so just start putting in the reps now and just, get better every day type thing.
Yeah, and it's not just the writing too that Nashville is so good at. Nashville has that also, you can play out every single day and find that sound, find that tone that you're looking for. And then it's just like one hand washes the other, right? Once you find that avenue of sound of, that you're tracking, then you get to write that way, you know what I mean? And so they just kind of like go even flow that way. So yeah, I love that. I love the idea of just like putting in reps, man. Writing is only good if you're writing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I guess the kind of the maybe even the rock way, but the classic kind of pop way is melody first, and then kind of just find lyrics that fit in that melody. And I think in Nashville, it's a lot of it is sometimes you come up with the title first, and then you got to find the words and find a melody that's not been used. So it's definitely a different way of doing things, and it's kind of like an addiction, because you start writing and sometimes you write what you think is an amazing song, and it doesn't do as well as one that you think, it's a bit more simple, and then that's the one that blows up, or you never know what's going to work. So like I said, it's an addiction, and you're just waiting for that hit, you know.
Yeah. To kind of piggyback off what you were just saying, Brian, I think was something that never really clicked in my head. Like, so we're based out of New Jersey, right outside the New York, PA. We're literally in between New York and Pennsylvania, and Philadelphia. But, around this area, you play shows, you go out, you try new things, you play with the intention that, like, you're developing, right? You're especially when you're comes to your own sound and all that. Whereas, like, in my brain, I feel like Nashville is always like you had to be 100% from day one, which, I mean, I guess there is to some extent, but you have more opportunity to really find who you are when you're in an environment like that, as opposed to, like, here you just, you mentioned like playing the cover songs, and you kind of get bogged down by that here. Whereas somewhere like that, like, you really, even Austin, going back to the Texas days, like you really have the opportunity to really find who you are, which then you said, bringing that into the writer's room. And it's a pretty interesting dynamic that I don't think a lot of people really think of when they're not immersed in Nashville 24/7.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I'm glad I didn't do. Like, just come to Nashville and just really quickly try and like make a decision and just say, oh, this is who I am, and then just start. It's like you can. I mean, look at like Jelly Roll. He had, like, I don't know, 10 albums of being a rapper slash, whatever he was. It was kind of, I don't know, Antioch country rap or whatever. But, like, he found himself that whole, like, redemption, sobriety, or whatever you want to call it, it took him maybe 10 years to get that, maybe longer, but he found it. And I think that, I don't think you find that from just being on your own. I think that's being in rooms and telling people that have been writing for 50 years your story, and they're like, what if you approached it like this? And it's totally collaborative, and yeah, it's I don't know if there's many other places in the country that do it as well as Nashville. And I mean, pop artists and rock artists, their labels will send them to Nashville to write with the writers here for that reason. Because it's just like, again, I think it's probably the best, maybe in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of finding yourself and all that, I think it's probably a good time that we take our break. We put on the song we're going to play for you. So why don't you introduce it for us? We'll throw it on and we'll chat about it when we come back.
Sounds great. Well, my name is Callum Kerr. This is my new single, Tamed by Tennessee. Came out a couple of weeks ago, and you can find it pretty much everywhere. Oh, and we have a music video coming out, not this week, but the next week.
I've been Mile High, Colorado, low down Louisiana, coast to coast where the wind blows from San Fran to Savannah.
Well, my old man was a rambling man, and I took after him, kicking up a cloud of dust just to get gone again. But there's something about that Smoky Mountain sunset that keeps me coming back, and something about her southern drawl that, hey, y'all, had me falling just like that. I can't believe my wild and free was changed by Tennessee.
She reined in this desperado, but I'm okay with that though. She's a road I wanna go down, feels like home. There's something about that Smoky Mountain sunset that keeps me coming back. There's something about her southern drawl that, hey y'all, had me falling just like that. Can't believe my wild and free was tamed by Tennessee. Tamed by Tennessee. Yeah, I've seen the 7 wonders of the world, all but nothing holds a candle to my Tennessee girl. There's something about that Smoky Mountain sunset that keeps me coming back.
And something about her southern drawl that, hey y'all, had me falling just like that.
Can't believe my wild and free was tamed by Tennessee.
I can't believe my wild and free was tamed by Tennessee.
All right, so let's talk about Tamed by Tennessee. First and foremost, what was the inspiration behind that song? What brought that to life for you?
So that one was my buddy Chris Andrucci, who we were just chatting about. He's from Scotland, and he actually wrote that song with 3 other dudes. Another one of my best friends here, John Haywood, was a writer on that song. So I didn't write that song, but he used to play that at writers' rounds, and I was such a big fan of that. I was like, dude, you have to put that song out. That's such a good tune. And I don't really know where his inspiration was. He was seeing a girl at the time, and I guess he was saying, I just tamed my wild ways or whatever. And I was like, it's such a good song, you got to put it out. And he was like, I don't really know if it's for me. And I was like, well, if it was me, I'd put it out because, I came to Tennessee. I found, the love of my life, my now fiance, will be wife in a few months. And okay, funny side note, I'm at a birthday party for another country artist here in town, and Zach Top just walked out the bar. So there's a few huge country stars in there right now, which proves how important this interview is, because I was like, fuck you guys, I'm going to talk to the boys from outside the round. But I guess he just walked out. It's funny, he just walked past. But yeah, so, and then Chris was like, well, dude, why don't you cut it and release it? And at the time, we're both, fully independent. It's expensive to put songs out here. So I think we weren't together, but we were both drinking. And I was like, dude, why don't we put it out together? We'll just do almost like a duet type thing, since we're, both moved to Tennessee from another place and found love and all that. And that was it. We were like, right, let's do it. And we could split the costs of everything, and started doing, content, started making videos about it. And people seemed to love it. A couple of Scottish dudes singing about, finding Tennessee and finding love. And it went from there. It just blew up online. And then, the streams were really good. And it gave me a lot of opportunities, and Chris as well. So usually when we play gigs now, it's, we'll whoever's playing the gig that night, the other one will jump on stage and we'll do a duet for that song. So it's been amazing, man.
No, what's cool about that? That's what Nashville, I love about Nashville, right? It's not like it's my song, I sing it. This is the best thing for this song, and this is what we need for it to be released. I love that you guys, both jumped on that, released it together, and it just allows that song to just really speak to masses. And I think it's such a cool song, man.
Yeah, I'm absolutely in love with that song. And again, like I said, it's done so much for me in terms of opportunities here in town, and it's been really amazing. But yeah, I think there's a bunch of songs that I put out recently that I didn't write. They were other people wrote them and they pitched them to me. And I do have some songs that are my own songs as well. But that I've written, some of them I've written on my own. Some of them I've written with one other person. Some of them 4 other people. but like you said, at the end of the day, best song wins, and you know, whatever's best for the project is what will go on the project. And there's no kind of ego, like you were saying, where you have to be, you know, I'm only going to put out my songs, and you know, and that's what a lot of artists do now. Is, you know, it's amazing for the people that are songwriters in town that they don't want to be artists. They just want to write good songs. You know, like your Bailey Zimmermans and Cody Johnsons and, you know, Wallen, they'll all take outside cuts from dudes that you've never heard of, but they can write a hell of a song. And all they're looking for is a voice to go on it. So this was kind of like that, but I did force one of the writers to be on it with me, kind of, because he was my buddy. So it worked out in the end.
Oh yeah, it definitely works. And you know, I'm gonna kind of transition talking about this into the song we're gonna play at the end. Used to love this town. So I always talk about like the lyrics, the message behind songs. I always focus on that side of it. Brian's the audio engineer. He could tell you about the way it's recorded. It all sounds the same to me. I talk about the lyric side of it, the message side of it, and I really love, you know, how you said this is essentially a love song. That one line, "She's the road I want to go down. She feels like home." Like, I mean, that's, you can't put any better words together to like really drive home like the point that like this is your person. Which I'm going to then transition into the song we'll play at the end. Used to love this town. Ironically, recently I just moved back to my hometown, and it
Cool.
feels kind of weird to be here, but I moved back to my hometown with the person I want to go down that road with. And so I feel like these songs and this conversation, and you know, even going back to like the My Chemical Romances, and you know, I'm a big believer that things show up when they're supposed to, and having Used to Love This Town, and yeah, you know, it's a little darker on, you know, F the town, but the fact that these two side by side showed up at the same time for me is the perfect yin and yang to why we do this and why we have this podcast. And so yeah, I mean, it couldn't have been the perfect combination that came across me
Cool, man.
recently. So yeah, no, I love both these songs so much.
Dude, that's awesome to hear. And I guess that's another reason why, you know, you might take songs that were written by other people, because if it, you know, as a listener, you're like, this feels like my life. And you know, that's the important thing, I think, for me. You know, I'm happy to sing other people's songs that other people have written, and give it a voice, as long as it feels like, you know, something that I would sing or I would say. And you know, Used to Love This Town, it's kind of similar, like that first line, like the old Texaco was the only place to go to, you know, smoke that smoke when you're 17. I was like, moved to Texas at 17 and hadn't even smoked weed before, and you know, before I knew it, we're at a gas station lighting up a joint, and I'm pretending like I know what I'm doing. I'm like, oh my word, this shit's crazy. And you know, then sitting there listening to country music, and but for that song, we just filmed the music video. And it's funny how you say it's kind of like the listener's perspective, because whenever I sing or hear that song, I kind of think of, like, I used to love this town because I was in love with a girl here, and she like dumped me and left. She like broke my heart and left. But when we were doing the idea for the music video, the director thought it'd be a good idea, because it's kind of like a nostalgic song, that the story is that the girl left town because her parents moved. So he's like, they're both still in love, but the guy can't love the town anymore because the thing that he loved most about it was dragged away from there. And I just thought it was such a cool take. It's like he heard the song and that's what he thought of. And it just proves, you know, you kind of put yourself in all these stories, and he's literally hearing a different song than what I'm hearing in my head when I'm singing it. So I thought that was really cool. And we filmed the music video, and it was me going back to my childhood home, digging through a box of stuff, and I find this old VCR tape, and I put it in the machine, and it flicks back to like them, the two kids in love. It's like a guy who's playing younger me, and a girl that's playing, I guess, the girl that has to move away. And it's just such a cute video. They're like, clearly best friends, maybe falling in love, and then he pulls up to her driveway and there's a for sale sign. I just thought it was really good. I was like, I've never even thought about it like that. I was always picturing the girl was the bad guy, but it turns out like her parents had to leave town or whatever, and I just thought it was so cool.
That is cool. That is a cool little insider take. I like that song a lot because of the guitar solo that just rips.
Yeah, dude. That's that's the audio engineer right there.
An awesome guitar tone. But we keep not to beat this dead horse, but we talk about like, the best song wins. The best song should always, I mean, it's worked for George Strait pretty friggin' good. So I mean, I think you're on the right track as far as selecting the songs that get to live on the album and that get to portray you as an artist. So I think you're doing it right, man.
Yeah, and there's a few on the EP that I did write, and there's songs that I released before that I did write. But like I said, it's best song wins, and I can't be in Nashville with all these amazing writers and think that I've got the best songs. If there's a guy that's been a writer for 20 years and he says, I've written this song and I think you'd sound good on it, then I'm going to give it a fair shot. And those are two that I just fell in love with, and so I was like, yeah, I'd be silly to pass up the opportunity to not cut these amazing songs. And then side note, I guess my producer and the guys who are head of my labels are Dan and David Huff, and they were in a rock band called Giant. And Dan Huff has played on like Michael Jackson records, Beyonce records. He's like one of the best session players of all time. So that guitar solo is, probably a Dan Huff
Makes sense.
solo. And, it just like, yeah, I'm like, why would I not put out this song with these legends of the rock and country game?
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of doing it right, so recently you got to make your Grand Ole Opry debut. Kind of take us through that process, how that came to be, and how that experience was for you.
Yeah, I didn't realize that I was even, I guess, in the running. Kylie, my manager, set up I guess you have to pitch an artist, and then they look at all your stuff and decide if you're worthy yet. And I guess someone at the Opry was like, yeah, let's give him a chance. And yeah, it was crazy. I was playing a show in Nashville on Broadway. It's called Whiskey Jam. Have you guys ever been to a Whiskey Jam down here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know what they are. It's super cool. Each act comes on with a full band and plays, 3 or 4 songs. And so I was finishing up my gig, wrapping up all my cables and stuff for the next band to come on, and they put the projector screen on, and it was Dustin Lynch, who's an Opry member, and he was like, "Hey, we'd love to invite you to play your Opry debut. Love what you're doing, and come play some songs with us." And so that was crazy. And then, yeah, day came. I had family from Scotland, friends from Texas. My fiance's family from Mississippi and Florida, and like so many people came for it, and it was like the crowd was insane, and the actual performance was a bit of a blur. And no, I was like, I'm gonna go up there, and I don't want to drink beforehand, so I want to really be in the moment. And God, I wish I'd had a beer or something, because I was like, oh my God, this is fucking scary. But yeah, it was just amazing. I was like in a dream state the whole time. Crowd was amazing. They were loud, and they were, super supportive. And I did a little interview at the end, and the guy was like, maybe we should have you back. And the crowd was like, yeah. And so I was like, yeah,
Listen to them. Yeah.
listen to that. Yeah, I'll come back anytime. You say the day, I'll be there. But yeah, it was, I mean, like everyone says, it's cliche, but it's just such an honor. It kind of feels like a bit of a rite of passage in the country music world. And so, yeah, I just think, yeah, it was once in a life. They're like, you only get to make your Opry debut once, and they really put the pressure on you, to realize how big of a moment it is. But yeah, now that I've done it, I'm like, it's just, I can say that I've played the Grand Ole Opry, stood in that circle, and that's. I don't know if I thought that might have been coming like 3 years ago when I moved here. I definitely didn't think it would happen this quick. So for that, I'm just feel very blessed, very grateful, and it's just, yeah, I can't really say anything more. It's like insane. It's just, I still feel like, really,
Yeah, no, I can only imagine, man. And yeah, what an amazing honor it is to I love that they have that circle there and everything that the circle represents, the from the very beginnings of the Grand Ole Opry, the Ryman Auditorium. And I love that they have it there and how much of a huge honor it is for, artists like yourself to step into that circle and sing, man. It's so cool.
Yeah, you realize how many cool people have stood in that circle, and they made their Aubrey debut and they were nervous for it and they went on and did incredible things. So it's yeah, it's out of this world. But yeah, I just feel very honored and just glad I didn't like faint halfway through or something like that.
Yeah. So I got two thoughts on the Opry here that relate to you. So the first one, I'm sure a quick Google search will give me this answer, but do you know off the top of your head, I mean it's a huge list of artists who have gotten to play there, but the Scottish born players are, do you know if who has been before you in that sense, or are you the first?
Damn, good question. I mean, if I'm not the first, there's probably a small list of people that have. Um, damn, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know
I'm gonna have to look that up later. Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm gonna look that up and I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell people. Yeah.
Yeah. So
If there
so
was
that was
someone else before, I'm just gonna pretend there wasn't. I'm gonna say, yeah, did you know I was the first?
yeah. And the irony is, so we're called outside the circle for a reason. Our big draw is we like to, interview artists, and especially people who are on the rise and doing big things with their careers. And obviously that's an honor to get to that level. When we first started planning and scheduling and seeing when we could get you on. At the time, you had not yet been an Opry performer, so it's kind of ironic that we are outside the circle, and since we've talked, you are now inside the circle.
Yeah, damn. I guess I am now back outside the circle physically. So glad to be joining you boys back in the real world, and you know, hopefully we'll get back in there at some point. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, so was that the reason for the name? You wanted to that this circle was like the Opry circle?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. The
Yeah.
whole point, and I give Brian credit. I came to him with 500 names, and one day he just said, "Why don't we just call ourselves outside the circle? Because we're all trying to get in it." And I said, "Oh shit, that's it. That's the name."
That's yeah, great name. For some
Yeah.
reason, I almost thought it'd be like something to do with like writers rounds. I don't even know. Like yeah, that's a great name though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
outside the circle, baby.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned you're sitting outside a party here. So we don't want to take too much more of your time, but kind of as we wrap up a little bit, I mentioned not just the music and the musician side of the entertainment industry, but you mentioned doing some acting and other things in those realms. Kind of between that and music itself, kind of what's coming up for you. What do you got coming on down the line?
So on the music side, I'm doing a tour in Texas and Oklahoma at the end of September, start of October. Currently talking to another artist about supporting them on a bit of a bigger tour, which could be really cool. I guess I don't want to say anything yet in case it doesn't happen, and people go expecting to see me and it's like someone else. But that would probably fill out pretty much the rest of the year. And then acting wise, I did a show called One Piece. I joined the cast for season 2. That comes out. They just said 2026, so I'm hoping it's the start of 2026. But apart from that, just hopefully some more music. I'm writing, a lot in town, and just trying to find the next great song and get back in the studio and get some more music out. So I'm hoping at least one or two before the end of the year. And if not, we'll get another EP or something out at the start of next year, I think.
Awesome, Cal. Man, it's been awesome sitting here chatting with you. Really appreciate you taking out the time and talking with us. But you want to let the listeners know where they can follow this journey?
Yeah, social media is Callum_Kerr_1, or you can just type in Callum Kerr and it usually just, pops up. But use the one that's got like the little check mark, because there's so many weird fake profiles out there. There's only one on each platform. Music videos and visualizers and video blogs and stuff are on YouTube, and of course the music is on all the streaming platforms. But yeah, any kind of news or any kind of updates will all come through Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all those kind of classic venues. And yeah, I think that's about it. I don't really use Twitter, but I guess I have one. So if you're a Twitter person, then I guess. But yeah, and then if you're ever in Nashville, I'm playing here most weeks, and I got my website is Cal's Country Club, and that'll have all the kind of tickets and merch and stuff like that on there.
Cool.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Callum, man, it's been a pleasure getting to chat with you. And it's kind of crazy that growing up in Scotland and making your way this way, and all the connections, and it goes to show how small the world really is. And it's no surprise that you're succeeding at the rate that you are. And yeah, I can't wait to see what the next part of the journey looks like for you. We're here for it.
All right. Well, thank you, boys. You guys are great.
All right, so that was our interview with Callum Kerr, and yeah, I mean, we kind of really dove into it ahead of time, but Scottish born, moves to Texas, gets a job. He talked about his boss giving him, before he even landed on American soil, giving him a list of songs that he needed to familiarize himself with, and yeah, and then fast forward to 3-4 years ago now, moving to Nashville and making his Opry debut. I mean, it's pretty quick timeline, but it was very awesome to hear his life unfold in that way.
Yeah, I mean, just a super talented dude. I mean, not only musical, the acting, I mean, everything. Yeah, the story of his boss. I mean, it's like if you're gonna play in Texas, like if you're gonna work in Texas, you gotta know a couple of these tunes, man. But no, I agree. I think he's such a really cool, down to earth guy, and extremely talented singer and player.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the topic of Nashville, so the next week is Halloween week, and I will actually be in Nashville for Halloween weekend. So anybody listening that's in the Nashville area, let's get together, let's hang out. Send me your schedules, let me know where you're playing. But yeah, I'm excited to get surprise. I guess not surprisingly, because COVID happened and then all that, but the fact that we've been doing this for 6 years now, and it's the first time back since we started the podcast. So it'll be cool to get down there and see some familiar faces and new faces, really face to face.
Right. No, that's that was a lot of face talk.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, man, I think you're gonna have a blast down there. And I mean, what's not to like in Nashville, especially you guys are seeing hockey, and then you get to be around a bunch of really great music, and like you said, you get to go face to face with some people that we've been talking to for years now. So it's wild. But no, I look forward to the stories, and listeners can look forward to some cool new content that you're gonna capture down there.
Yeah, that's the goal. I'm not very good at the content world, but I hope to get some stuff, whether it's just catching up with people or just new day in a life type stuff down there. It'd be I'm coming back with something. I promise you that.
Nice. Hopefully not a hangover, but we definitely want to thank Callum for coming on Outside the Circle. Make sure you go and follow him on all of his social media, music listening platforms. We'll leave you today with another track from Callum Kerr, Used to Love This Town.
Smoke when you're 17, just some hang around trucks cranking Mellencamp up, taking us another lap around Main Street. There's something different about this place. town. I used to run these streets. I used to tell myself no way in hell I'd ever